Delighted to say Claire Pearsall, former Conservative Government Special Advisor, is joining us still. Morning again to you.
Morning.
Lots going on. As always, let's start once again with the madness of what's gone on with the Southport attack. Tomorrow we've got the sentencing of Axel Rudiger-Cabana. We're only able to know his name within days of the attack because he was 17. We weren't supposed to know his name. We weren't supposed to know anything about him if it'd been up to the authorities, it would appear. But he was, at the age of 17, able to buy a knife on Amazon. And therefore, well, that's obviously the problem. The Home Secretary, Yvette Cooper, announced yesterday not only there's going to be this public inquiry, which will take far too long and probably not uncover anything useful in terms of how he was able to carry out this killing and how he wasn't stopped despite being reported to prevent 3 times, being expelled from schools, violent assaults on fellow pupils in schools, carrying a knife. He's admitted to carrying a knife on 10 different occasions, looking at horrific stuff online. Now they're going to want to, let's try and censor the stuff online. Let's need 2-factor authentication and ID to buy a knife if you're under 18. He could have just waited 9 days and bought one. I mean, is this in any way a solution to the problem of whether they are terrorists or whether they are people who commit acts which terrorise? I don't think I really care what label we put on these people, that there are some mad and bad and mad or bad people on our streets or in their bedrooms looking at this stuff online, buying knives, getting them from their mum's kitchen drawer, who want to do us ill.
None of this is an answer. Well, certainly not to the problem that's in front of us, which is why somebody can be on the radar of so many different agencies and nothing was done. Realistically, he needed to have been in prison because he was such a threat to society. And that is what prison is there for. It's not just for the punishment and rehabilitation of offenders, it's also for the security of the people on the streets.
Or also, perhaps some sort of mental institution, I would have thought. I mean, because there were so many concerns about him. The fact that his father, a week beforehand, begged a cab driver not to let him in the cab, not to take him to his school. Why? Because he thought he was going to try and do something. He had planned a massacre in the school. They'd been looking at, if your kid was looking at the stuff this young man was looking at, I mean, come on. We'd be seeking help, right? And I don't know how much help his family did seek. They may be, just as much victims in this, but not enough was done.
No, it wasn't. And there were going to be multiple agencies. The police, you've got social services, you've got education. What was done? We don't know any of that. And I as a parent, absolutely. If my child was doing that, I would be beside myself and trying to do everything I could.
But also, other kids in his schools, they were supposed to be at school with this killer. Okay, I mean, they're also at risk.
Yes, they are, and that's what I mean about actually should he have been somewhere away from the populace if he cannot be trusted.
If there's everyone says, he was in his bedroom all the time. Well, actually, I'm thinking, I wish he'd stayed there. Social workers wouldn't go into his home without a police escort. What does that tell you? Oh, but it's okay for him to just leave the house any time.
But the
lack of joined up thinking. But here's the thing: the authorities are so quick to take away our freedoms. Whenever they're, for our safety, always have, well, I'm afraid we're going to have this rule on this and ID for this. And I mean, there's never anything that happens that the solution isn't some sort of digital ID. There is never a problem in this country that the authority, Tony Blair will be here in a minute going, we could have prevented this if we'd had digital. I mean, honestly, but they don't do anything about taking away the freedoms of the dangerous people. And we're not talking about Minority Report and Tom Cruise and pre-crime. We're talking about someone who's clearly a danger.
It is, and what it's going to do is just increase the burden on individuals who are going about their business, so people just living their lives who are now going to have a very complicated system in order to buy something as simple as a knife for their kitchen. But I also await the Home Office knife licence. I bet you and your knife block.
About that online.
Yeah, you and your knife block are suddenly going to have a licence. So let's all wait for
Knives
that.
are really useful things. I was thinking, I'm buying a load of kitchen stuff. I have to go all the way into the shop to get the knife, and it's like, I know. Can't I just get it delivered?
Then you're moving around with something that is a dangerous weapon.
Which you would have thought, I don't know. Although, frankly, I can understand a lot of people. And that we talk about penalties, people carrying a knife. I'm thinking, there'll be occasionally think, God, I'm glad I'm on the way back to the knife shop in this scenario. I mean, that's the awful thing. I mean, again, related to in terms of the violence we've got, a 14-year-old boy was arrested, can't be named obviously, at 14. 14-year-old boy arrested on suspicion of murder after the fatal stabbing of a 12-year-old in Birmingham, broad daylight yesterday. We only know about the news today. I mean, 12-year-old and a 14-year-old. That is 2 lives completely and utterly ruined. You know it'd be gang related. You'll know that. We know it all already. We know it all already. There'll be no dads.
No.
There'll be no dads. I mean, I'm sorry. I mean, how many times? How many times? And then we've also got, in the last half an hour or so, Kyle Clifford pleading guilty to the Bushy crossbow killings. You remember this from July last year. Kyle Clifford was accused of stabbing Carol Hunt to death, fatally shooting Louise and Hannah Hunt, her daughters, with a crossbow at their family home. They are the wife and daughters of the racing commentator John Hunt, who's been known to many as a Sky Sports and BBC racing commentator. He has one surviving daughter, Amy. I can't imagine what that family has gone through. It was absolutely brutal what happened to them in that home, and he was in that home for a long time as well. Yeah. He's pleaded guilty. He has pleaded not guilty to 1 count of rape. But I mean, again, another horrific case. And again, as we discovered, you can buy a crossbow online. Literally, you can sit there right now, go click, click, click. There you go.
Yeah, and have it delivered. Why is nobody having a look at these kind of things? Why are they available? Who needs a crossbow?
What do you need a crossbow for?
It's not something going about your daily life that you're going to require one. This is not a Western movie.
But here's the thing, where do you draw the line? Because, again, the issue is, and again, it's like the American gun law thing, you know, guns don't kill people, people do. Yeah, but it's a good idea if people in a fit of anger don't have access to a weapon they can kill a lot of people with. Look, what people forget, I hate all the conversation about Southport when they talk about he killed 3 children, three little girls. He attempted to kill about 20 girls.
Yeah. Okay.
There were, that's how many, the other girls, 8 other girls had wounds, were stabbed in the back as they ran away. He was a psycho. It doesn't even bear thinking about the horror that those children endured, and the families of the 3 little girls who died having to endure the worst possible thing. But those little, that's never going to leave you. That's never going to leave you or your family, and 2 adults as well. I mean, and then you've got, the cab driver, the man who tackled him, said, why didn't you pay your taxi driver? You think, what could I have done? Everyone, the amount of people this impacts, the people who saw the screaming, bloodied children running out, people are traumatised forever by this stuff, and understandably, because they're normal people. And yet we never seem to get the right end of it. Does redefining terrorism count? Does the government saying that they are going to, look at what information can be given in the event of these cases? Does that make a difference? Because the claims of a cover-up, we had Tory MP Andrew Rossendale, we've had former MPs, many people saying there was a cover-up. They did not give us full information. There was a vacuum of information about this man, and that was filled. That void was filled by the far right, and it was filled by foreign actors deliberately putting lies about online and many people are behind bars as a result after those riots.
And I think that's the problem, is that nothing moves particularly quickly in Keir Starmer's government. They're very risk-averse.
Set another inquiry up.
Set another inquiry up. Let's push it into the long arse. Let's have a think about it. Well, actually, you don't need to leave that vacuum, because it will get filled. They know that. You need to get some information out there to stop misinformation going around. So if they put information out there, we probably wouldn't have seen the level of anger that we saw last summer.
But also, it was the perception. It wasn't just that we didn't have the information. It was that they were deliberately withholding information. And we know, and we talked about this earlier, in the case of Jo Cox, when she was horrifically murdered by Thomas Mayer in June 2016, and again, he was apprehended at the scene. Within 2 days, front page of the newspapers had all about what was found in his home, that he was a neo-Nazi, had long-term mental health history. Virtually every book he'd ever bought online, that neo-Nazi memorabilia, that was all known 2 days later. But he went to trial in November. For some reason, that wasn't considered contempt of court. That wasn't going to prejudice the trial. In the Finsbury Park mosque attack in 2017, the Parsons Green tube attack in 2017, in both cases, they were declared a terror attack instantly. The London Mayor, Sadiq Khan, talked about it being a terror incident at Parsons Green. One Keir Starmer, wonder what he's doing now. He referred to the terrorist attack, again, within hours of the Finsbury Park mosque. We knew a lot more about the killer of David Amess, the Tory MP as well. It seems to be the rules are different for different people. And I know, let's all stop pussyfooting around. Yeah. He was a black man. Mm-hmm. He was the son of immigrants, and he committed this horrific killing. Okay. The government knew this. They knew they had the right man straight away. He was bloodied. He was apprehended at the scene. Okay, they knew that in the storm at the time, in July, that was not going to go down well, given the concerns generally in the debates over things at the time, in the public eye at the time. And they deliberately withheld that information and put out information that no, he wasn't a legal migrant. He wasn't. He was born in Cardiff. They put that information out, and they did that deliberately.
Yeah.
Are they not responsible also for their failures?
Yes, I think they are, because what happens when another event occurs, which it will, are we going to believe what it is they're telling us, or are we going to be looking and saying, right, you've just mentioned that it is a man, you're not mentioning where they're from? It's all this vague stuff which just feeds into people's disbelief of what's going on.
And also, we found some ricin in an Al Qaeda manual, but we're just not going to mention it. Just not going to mention it until October.
It's just none of it.
I'm sorry, none of it adds up. And everyone's saying, "Oh, it was a CPS." It was like, no. I'm sorry. There has been a cover up, and again, nothing excuses people going out and threatening people in an asylum hostel or throwing bricks at. No, sorry. None of that is ever justified. Some of the hate online as well. I'm glad those people are being punished. I am. But there were also a lot of people who were asking questions and who were rightly concerned about things and who I think shouldn't be behind bars. Let's also talk about happier things. Donald Trump's election. Never thought I'd be happy about Donald Trump being re-elected, but I really, really was on the day, and I still remain now. That bunch of executive orders. Look, there's some stuff I don't like. I'm not going to agree with him on everything. But wow, I loved a lot of the stuff, especially on the border, mass deportations. Why does anyone think that illegal migrants shouldn't be deported? Or they lived here for years. So what? You're living there illegally. You don't have a right to live in any country you choose. You just don't. I don't understand why people even query this. We're going to have so much footage of tearful children. It's going to be awful. Those families. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But we have border controls for a reason, or not under the Bidens. But he's also been criticised by the Usual Brigade for basically saying, oh, we're now going to recognise biological fact. There are only two genders, only two sexes. It's male and female. To the extent that even if you're on a passport, US passport, and you're travelling back to the States now, if the sex on your passport doesn't match your actual sex, you're going to have to get a new passport. I think you can allow people 6 months to renew their passport. I think would be more reasonable. But Donald Trump got a right old lecture from a woke preacher at an interfaith religious ceremony in Washington, D.C. yesterday. I do implore you, if you are watching on YouTube or Connected, you will actually get to see the wonderful facial expressions from Donald Trump and his family, particularly J.D. Vance as well. Have a watch and a listen of what she had to say.
In the name of our God, I ask you to have mercy upon the people in our country who are scared now. There are gay, lesbian, and transgender children in Democratic, Republican, and independent families. Some who fear for their lives.
I mean, the faces are just glorious. If you've not seen them, they really are a picture. Why would gay and lesbian people be fearing for their lives? Because he's not even mentioned them in any of the... I mean, there's no rules that are affecting gays. No. The only people gay lesbians who are affected by this are those children who are basically told the lie that you're born in the wrong body. And actually, no, you're not gay. You're not gay. What you need to do is cut off your breasts and be a boy. Oh, no, what you do, you're not gay. What you need to do is cut off your testicles and pretend you're a girl. Sorry, those children are being mutilated and drugged by a vicious, nasty, child-hating, homophobic ideology, which is what trans is. I'm thrilled with the Donald Trump on this. I think most Americans will be thrilled, certainly most parents. But why would they fear for their lives? I mean, what an extraordinary lecture to give. He said it was boring afterwards.
Yeah, I think the faces in the congregation agreed with that. And I think we've all sat through things that we weren't particularly interested in, and you had to have a face on you that looks as if you're half paying attention.
Yeah, I'm not very good at that.
I'm not. It's all written over my face that I'm not happy. But why? What was the point? Why sit there and lecture? She was virtue signalling.
Well,
she's had her 15 minutes.
That's what the woke do. They work. That's the entire point. They work. That is. You know, I mean, this is Right Reverend Marion Edgar Bood. I mean, you know, she'll have all the correct views. She'll have all the right flags in her Twitter account. She's probably left Twitter when Musk bought it. I mean, it's so predictable, isn't it? No, I mean, thing is, there is an element where, religious figures, and we had this from, our own Justin Welby, who former Archbishop of Canterbury. I suppose it's their job to preach from the pulpit, but you really want to make sure you're on solid ground.
Well, you do, but she's now had her 15 minutes of fame. She's got her words out there.
She'll be lauded.
And it's going to change absolutely nothing.
Yeah, absolutely. I would think they've doubled down even more.
Yeah.
Can we also just have a quick clip of Elon Musk? Apparently giving a Nazi salute at a rally when he's addressing the Trump faithful. This has been derided by pretty much the entire left on the internet, who are, in my view, completely pretending, either to us or themselves, or maybe both, that they think he did a Hitler salute. If you're just listening, you can't see this, but he's basically puts his hand on his heart and then puts his hand out to the crowd. But have a watch and a listen.
Thank you. My heart goes out to you.
He does do some weird mannerisms, doesn't he? He's kind of sort of awkward, he's sort of robotic-y figure in lots of ways anyway. It's so obviously not a Nazi salute, it's embarrassing that people are claiming. Do you think, I've asked you this earlier, but do you think the people on the left who are in absolute meltdown on social media, do they actually believe that they think it really was?
Yes, they do. They absolutely do. They are of the belief that that is what he did. He is therefore evil. So is President Trump. They don't like them anyway, so they're going to find any excuse they like.
Do they not realise how much it undermines them? They're being mocked remorselessly, especially because every other Democrat, every prominent Democrat has at some point been pictured or on video with their hand out in a similar angle.
But you're going to have now have a chart. So when anybody's standing and waving, how high are you allowed to have your hand? So are we going to do this with the lefties? Are we going to give them a massive protractor to take around? At what angle you're allowed?
I did see something online. I'm wondering if I actually did a screenshot or not. But it was just like, at this angle is petting a dog, at this angle is petting a child, at this angle or hailing a taxi, at this angle you are basically hailing Hitler.
Yeah.
It's just mad.
Yeah.
It's utterly mad, and it just undermines people. There's going to be stuff worth criticising.
Yeah, just wait.
I'm sure you'll have plenty of ammunition, and I will be. You know me. I criticise policies and what people say they do. Rather than just hate one person and worship something everyone else does. I really think that you guys have just made absolute buffoons of yourselves. You really, really have. So much more to talk about, including benefit cheats to be banned from the road. Brilliant plan. Now, we're going to solve this. If you don't pay back the benefits you've defrauded the government of, by the way, they barely catch any of these people. There's billions that are being defrauded every single day. Everyone I know knows someone who shouldn't be on benefits. Just because you haven't been done for fraud doesn't mean you're not defrauding taxpayers. The solution, apparently, is you're going to be banned from the road. You're going to lose your licence for a couple of years. So surely what's going to happen then is we're just going to have a load more unlicensed drivers unable to get their vehicles insured.
Yeah.
And taxed, and therefore we're just going to have more people's insurance premiums go up because
they're just going to drive around anyway. We think they've all got licences and driving their cars. They're fully taxed.
They're really honest about everything else.
If they're
except benefit
defrauding benefits, I'm sure that there's some other stuff that they're into at the same time. And then they're going to say they can't possibly look for work because they don't have a vehicle. Yeah, because the state has taken their driving licence. But by the way,
if they won't pay back the money, if they've got a car, seize their car.
Exactly.
That's what happens to bailiffs, has said. It seize their car.
Seize it, sell it, money back. But we already have the powers to take away somebody's licence. We have
she works at the Home Office, she knows.
Yeah, under the Child Maintenance Service. Yeah. You have the right to remove driving licences and or passports. Yeah. So you could do that. You could easily do that for benefit fraud, but they choose not to. They choose not to in child maintenance as well, by the way.
Yeah.
Pointless. Absolutely pointless.
Should we just have a collective deep sigh?